folks, once again, it's your boy Tim with another ride-sharing video. How safe do you feel every time you get a passenger in your vehicle? I hate to have these videos coming at you back to back to back, but once again, in the news, folks are out here robbing drivers. But I'm not just going to run by you the video, the news story of what happened. I want to give you some advice. As you can see, the video is titled, Weapons and Tactics, How to Avoid Getting Robbed. I want to talk to you guys about that. Let me know in the comments, what do you think? Have you ever had an issue where you felt unsafe while you had a passenger in your vehicle? If so, how did it turn out? I'd like to hear from you in the comments. And as always, subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell. This is what we generally talk about here. So I want you to see this video. We'll talk about it on the other side.
Uber driver was beaten unconscious, and they are looking for the man and woman on the screen there. This attack happened November 13th at a corner store in Ella near the North Loop. Video shows those attackers stealing the man's car. So far, police have not been able to get information about these riders because the driver is injured and locked out of his account. Well, that's not the only vicious attack on an Uber driver.
A man shot late last night in North Houston, and investigators say the ride request may have been a setup. Only on 13, our Brianna Connor explains how the driver survived.
This is the gas station at the intersection of Quitman and Jensen, where an argument between an Uber driver and his passengers turned into a shooting. I spoke with the victim's sister, who tells me her brother at the last second turned his body so that the bullet, instead of hitting a vital organ, struck him in the back.
He called me frantically and he said, "I've been shot and come and get me."
This is what the Shell station looked like when NC Tahiri got there late Sunday night. Her brother Daniel tried to drop off 4 passengers. Houston police say one of them pulled a gun, telling the driver to get out of his SUV, leaving his keys and his phone. When Daniel refused, police say the passenger shot him.
They couldn't find a bullet on him. I think because it went in angle, I think it went inside probably the seat of his car.
All the passengers ran away, leaving Tahiri's brother with a deep wound. She says he needed blood, fluids, and stitches at the hospital. While he recovers now at home, Tahiri says she's encouraging him to find a new job.
If he didn't move or he didn't do anything, he could have been gone by now.
In a statement, Uber condemned the violence, calling it atrocious. A company spokesperson says, quote, "We're working to get in touch with the driver to check on their well-being and offer our support, and have banned the rider account from the platform. We stand ready to assist police however we can." The company also says Ride Check was activated during this instance. It helps make sure drivers and riders are okay during an unexpected long stop. But Tahiri says that safety feature alone isn't enough to protect against the bigger problem of gun violence.
Everybody has access to the gun, and it's not something that is right.
Shell station employees declined to release surveillance images to us, but HPD says that and information from Uber could help them find the shooter. In Houston, I'm Brianna Connor, ABC 13 Eyewitness News.
So a woman and a man was trying to beat up a driver and take his car. So let your spidey sense, when you're trying to, gauge whether someone might be of harm to you or an unsafe passenger to have, don't be sexist. Don't be a male chauvinist. As you see in that clip, even a woman was trying to beat somebody's ass to take the car with her man's assistance or whatever. So do not ever assume that only men are doing this stuff. Now, as you see in the second story, they stated that it was an argument between the driver and the passenger, and it resulted in a shooting. So first thing I'm going to tell you, do not argue with passengers. And I'm going to cover that in the advice I want to give you guys. But it's time to go to weapons and tactics. You got to be prepared out here, folks. Make no mistake about it. Folks are getting injured. Folks are being shot out here trying to make 70 to 80 cents per mile, assuming your market even pays 70 damn cents a mile. But it's about time we start carrying something, despite how the ride-sharing companies feel about it, because we know they focus on the passenger and making money. They don't give a damn about you as a driver. That is up to you. How many stories I got to play like this? So first thing I want to talk to you in regards to your safety. Do not discriminate. When you are, or do not hesitate to discriminate. Discrimination is possible here, folks. We are not trying to promote the Civil Rights Act. If you believe you're going to a neighborhood or picking up somebody that does not look trustworthy or looks shady as hell, discriminate. Do not pick them up. If you're going down a block and you can tell nefarious activities are taking place down that block, or you're sitting in front of a house that has a hell of a lot of traffic or something that is triggering your sense of security, follow your first mind. Take off. This is not anything to do with, promoting civil rights or whatever. You feel unsafe, bounce. Period. I'm giving you that advice. And you see what I look like. I'm not going to ever suggest you do something because you want to give good customer service if you feel your safety is in danger. Take off. Now, obviously, the ride-sharing companies treat us like shit on this because if you cancel rides or not take passengers, they threaten to ban you and all of that. So anytime you see this stuff happen and Uber release a statement talking about, well, we encourage our rides to protect their safety and, to not take rides, and bullshit. Us as drivers, we know when you are trying to strategize your efforts out here to maximize profits, you know that you're receiving emails and text messages from these companies talking about you can't cancel too many rides. So what they're telling folks out in public about they encourage us to cancel rides, we know as drivers that is absolute bullshit, which is why I asked you in the comments, let me know if you've had some passengers that you felt unsafe. I want to see how we have a dialogue going back and forth in the comments, see how many of you have felt unsafe with passengers in the car. And if something came out of it that was negative, that actually made you rethink driving, which is what you saw in the video. The woman is saying she's asking her brother to look for a different job. So in addition to the point I'm making about you need to discriminate, pick your passengers selectively, the second I'm going to state is what I said earlier. Do not argue with passengers. Your passengers have tactical advantage over you. In a lot of cases, they are sitting behind you. You are focused on driving. Even if they're sitting in the passenger seat, they have an advantage over you. You are not free to deal with and negotiate, argumentative or even violent subjects. Someone comes up behind you and puts you in a headlock or something like that, they have tactical advantage over you. So avoid getting in arguments with passengers. If they say something that sounds whack or something like that, keep it on a hush until you get them to point B. Try to keep the conversations to a minimum when the passengers do not appear to be friendly or when they appear to be hostile to some degree. And if for some reason you think a passenger is a danger, it's in your best interest, take the key out of your vehicle and get out the damn car. Do not argue with passengers in the car. However, as I've shown on videos before, sometimes the attack just happens, as you see here. Sometimes the person might just start beating your ass or they got in your car with a chip on their shoulder. In that case, we are going to talk about the elephant in the room, weapons. First, I would encourage all drivers, carry some mace. Here you have a small container of mace, pepper spray, something to disable a hostile character. You can spray this over your shoulders and cover the whole back seat. Everybody in the back seat, if you got particularly something in the mist, or if you want to go straight like this where you get a string. So I would highly encourage you carrying some mace or something of that nature. You can keep that on the door handle or somewhere nearby that you can grab it pretty quickly, flip it open and hit them up. Obviously, nobody is permanently injured, so you're not going to really worry about any significant issues with police if you have to defend yourself. But always have some pepper spray. After that, it gets from mild to mayhem. I strongly suggest carrying something that can either slash or poke. I'm just being honest with you. If the ride-sharing companies do not want you to carry a firearm, that is up to you. But legally, anyone can carry something that slashes or pokes. You don't have to come out here like Crocodile Dundee. There are plenty of things in your kitchen. Steak knife, something of that nature. As you can see, it is best stored. In my opinion, my humble opinion, let me know in the comments what you think, but I tend to suggest right under the thigh. That way, if someone catches it from behind or even from the side, it's right there under your thigh the entire time you are driving. Other than that, your toolkit. Your toolkit has something. I mean, it's not necessarily good for slashing, but it pokes. If someone is, like I said, trying to get you in a headlock or something like that, you have a poking tool for what's behind you or what is beside you. Something that pokes. You just want to get folks off. I'm not trying to suggest taking a life. You're not even trying to hurt folks. You're trying to stop the threat. As long as you stop the threat, it is a success. If the person is hurt in the process, so be it. But you're trying to stop the threat. And last but not least, I don't want to promote firearms, but you have a Second Amendment right, despite what the ride-sharing companies say. And if it comes down to defending your life, you would certainly rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. We've all heard that statement. My suggestion, obviously, if you got passengers in your vehicle, I'm not a big fan of open carrying. I'm not a big fan of having anything on your hip, because passengers in the front seat can see what's on your right hip, and passengers that are sitting behind you may see what's on your left hip. So I'm not a fan of that, because if something kicks off, you may have a struggle for your own tool. So in addition to carrying on the hip, you can always do an appendix carry right in the front of your pants. I'm not necessarily a fan of that always, because I have a dad bod. I do have somewhat of a belly. 6'6", 300 pounds. My belly is not flat. I don't want to drive for 2, 3, 6, 8 hours with something poking me in the stomach. So I'm not necessarily a fan of appendix carrier, but for you guys with 6-packs and 8-packs, carry on. My suggestion, your non-dominant leg, you want an ankle holster. You want something on your non-dominant leg. That way, if something kicks off, you can easily reach down, even if you're in a headlock. Even if you're in a headlock, you can reach down on your non-dominant leg. I am right-handed. I can easily reach down to my left leg and pull something out from my ankle, even if I'm in a headlock. So I would suggest your non-dominant leg having an ankle holster. And of course, obviously, while you're driving, you might want to have pants on or something like that, so that if you do have to get out and assist a passenger with bags or something of that nature, it doesn't, you're not easily seen as somebody who is armed, because a lot of passengers aren't comfortable with it and they may report you. But nevertheless, I am sick of showing videos like this. Clearly, people do not think we are getting paid as shitty as we are getting paid. How in the hell could you commit a Class A felony like the folks you've seen in these videos to rob an Uber driver? Now, in addition to the advice I gave, it might also be advisable to put a sign in your vehicle somewhere saying driver has no cash. This is a cashless transaction, folks. So the idea that you're going to rob a driver and is going to have a bunch of money on them, we have to figure out where the hell is that coming from. A lot of passengers do not even realize how low we're paid. You get in a vehicle, you travel 5 or 6 miles, and you have to pay Uber 10, 12 bucks. You assume the driver's making most of that. That's not true. Most of the drivers are making 80 cents a mile or less. Means if you travel, even if you travel 10 miles, the driver only made 8 bucks. So a lot of folks don't realize that. A lot of folks do not realize how low the drivers are paid. Otherwise, maybe some of them would be dumb enough to get involved in these robberies. But I want to get your take in the comments, as I've been suggesting throughout the video. I won't keep this too long. Have you had some nefarious characters in your vehicle, someone you had to kick out or felt unsafe continuing to drive with? Post that in the comments. I want to get a dialogue going. I answer and respond to any and all comments as usual. Subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell as I always request. We've been growing. I appreciate you guys participating, and I would like to know that, because there are certain areas where, in my opinion, you should discriminate on who you pick up. It's your boy Tim. I'll catch you in the next video.